Alright, welcome back. So we're going to look at the 2015 paper 1 for CSEC Chemistry. So let us get right into it. Which of the following processes provide evidence of the particulate nature of matter? Is it capillarity, diffusion, filtration, or osmosis? It's diffusion and osmosis. So that's 2 and 4. 2 and 4. So that's D. Question 2. Mass number is the number of neutrons plus protons. That's A. Question 3. Which of the following elements has 7 electrons in its outer shell? Chlorine would have 7 electrons on its outer shell, on its valence shell. Nitrogen would have 5, oxygen would have 6, hydrogen only has a single electron. So the answer is D. Question 4. An atom that has 20 electrons when it is ionized has the same electronic configuration as. So if this atom is ionized it has 2, 8, 8, 2, and it ionized to have 288, right? Now 288 would be the ion. What would that represent? So if it lost, so if 2 electrons were lost, that means it is resembling the electronic configuration of that of argon. Argon has the electronic configuration 288. So it is A. Question 5. Sodium 24 and sodium 23 are isotopes because they conduct electricity, react vigorously with water, have the same number of protons, have the same relative atomic mass. So they do not have the same relative atomic mass. As you can see, one is 24 and one is 23, but they do have the same number of protons, which is seen right here, 11 and 11. So the answer for that is C. Question 6. Sulfur and oxygen are in the same group of the periodic table because they can react with each other, they can form covalent compounds, they have the same number of electrons on their outer shell, or the atomic number of sulfur is 16 and the relative atomic mass of oxygen is 16. Sulfur and oxygen both have 6 electrons on their outer shell or their valence shell, so that means they are in the same group of the periodic table. So the answer is C. Item 7 refers to the following quantities of atoms: 12 grams of carbon, 16 grams of sulfur, 23 grams of sodium, and 23 grams of magnesium. Question 7. Which of the following pairs represent equal quantities of atoms? Alright, so we use moles equal to the mass over the RMM. So the moles of carbon would be 1 because it is 12 grams over 12 grams per mole. So that equal to 1. The moles of sulfur, so this is 1 mole. The moles of sulfur would be 16 grams over 32, so that is 0.5. Sodium is 23 grams over 23 grams per mole, so that is also 1. Magnesium 12 grams over 24 grams per mole, so that is also 0.5 moles. Alright, so which 2 are the same? 1 and 3 are the same, and 2 and 4 are the same. So that is, are there 1 and 3? No, 2 and 4. So there's 2 and 4, so it is D. Question 8. An ion with a single negative charge may be converted into a neutral atom by losing an electron. Question 9. Sodium reacts with water according to the equation. Okay. The number of liters of hydrogen liberated when 0.1 mole of sodium reacts with excess water is? So we want to find out the amount of hydrogen gas liberated. So let us look at the mole ratio between, what were we given? We were given 0.1 mole of sodium. So let us look at the mole ratio between sodium and hydrogen, and it's a 2-to-1 mole ratio. Sodium to hydrogen gas, it's 2-to-1. And if 0.1 mole of sodium was used, then what mole of hydrogen gas was produced? And that would be 1/2 multiplied by 0.1, which equal to 0.05 moles of hydrogen gas produced. Then we know that at RTP, 1 mole of any gas, hydrogen in this case, 1 mole of any gas equal to 24 liters, then 0.05 moles of hydrogen at RTP would equal to X. Rearrange the equation to make X the subject. X equal to 0.05 moles multiplied by 24 liters over 1 mole. Moles cancel moles, so it's 0.05 multiplied by 24 liters, and that is 0.05 multiplied by 24, 0.05 multiplied by 24, so that is 1.2. So X equal to 1.2 liters, which is A. Question 10. A new element R shows chemical properties similar to the element sodium. What is the correct formula of a compound formed with R? We have seen this before and we know that it is R2S. Question 11. Barium is below calcium in group 2 of the periodic table. When both metals react with water, the main differences in observation would be the rate of reaction and the solubility of the product. Item 12 refers to the following information: 3, 6, 17, 18. Which two of the elements above, when combined with each other, form mainly ionic compounds? And it would be 1 and 3. 1 and 3. So B. Items 13 to 14 refer to the following terms: giant ionic structure, simple molecular crystal, macromolecular structure, and giant covalent structure. Match each substance below with one of the terms above, each of which may be used more than once or not at all. Calcium chloride. Calcium chloride would be a giant ionic structure, so that is A. Starch, and starch is a macromolecular structure, which is B. Question 15. A separating funnel can be used to separate a mixture of water and kerosene oil. A SEP funnel is used to separate two immiscible liquid. So it's B. 16. Which of the following substances, when added to pure water, significantly increases the water's conductivity? And that would be sodium chloride. 17. A solution having a pH of 1 will react with zinc metal to produce hydrogen, and that's B. 18. Which of the following halogens is a liquid at room temperature? Fluorine is a gas, chlorine is also a gas, bromine is a liquid, iodine is a solid, so it's bromine B. 19. A weak acid is best described as one that yields a low reading on the pH meter, a low concentration of acid in aqueous solution, or a high concentration of hydrogen ions in solution, or low concentration of hydrogen ions in solution. So it's a low concentration of hydrogen ions in solution, in aqueous solution. Question 20. Which of the following methods may be used in the preparation of barium sulfate in the laboratory? We can use, because barium sulfate is extremely insoluble, we can use precipitation too. 21. Which of the following statements describe acid salts? Their anions cannot dissociate to give hydrogen ions. They form a normal salt when all replaceable hydrogens of the hydrogen of the acid is removed. Their anions can dissociate to give hydrogen ions, or they are not capable of generating a normal salt. Alright, so let us use the example of the sodium hydrogen sulfate, or the sodium bisulfate. So sodium bisulfate, which is an acid salt, will react with more sodium hydroxide to produce sodium sulfate, which is the normal salt, and water. Okay, so here it says they form a normal salt when all the replaceable hydrogen of the acid is removed. So that's part of it. Now, can the anion of the sodium sulfate releases H+ ions in solution? Now, the acid salt can dissociate into sodium ion and the bisulfate ion, which is HSO4 minus. Okay, the bisulfate anion can dissociate into H+ and SO4 2 minus. It can also react with water to release the H+ to the water forming the hydroxonium ion and the sulfate ions. Okay, so they form normal salts when all replaceable hydrogen of the acid is removed, as you can see right here. So that is true. Their anions can dissociate to give hydrogen ions, as you can see right here. So it's 2 and 3, 2 and 3, and that is C. Alright. Question 22. In which of the following reactions is sulfur dioxide acting as an oxidizing agent? Oxidation is the gaining of oxygen, the gaining of electrons, right? The loss of hydrogen, an increase in oxidation number. Reduction is the loss of oxygen, the gaining of hydrogen, the gaining of electron, or a decrease in the oxidation number. So let us see which one of these may agree to that. Sulfur dioxide right here gains an oxygen to form sulfur trioxide, so that's oxidation, right? And oxidation, we're looking for sulfur dioxide acting as an oxidizing agent, meaning that it is being reduced. Okay, so in B, sulfur dioxide lost the oxygen atoms to form the sulfur metal, so it was reduced. So here it is acting as an oxidizing agent because it oxidized hydrogen sulfide to form water. But let us look at C. Sulfur dioxide gained the oxygen right here to form the sulfurous acid. In D, so that's oxidation of the sulfur dioxide. In D, sulfur dioxide gained oxygen to form sulfuric acid. So that is also an increase in the oxidation number. So the answer is B. 23. In which of the following compounds does hydrogen have a negative number? Hydrogen will have a negative number when with metals. So when it's reacting with metals, it takes on the negative number. Other than that, it will the negative oxidation number. Other than that, it will have a positive oxidation number. 24. When an exothermic reaction occurs, energy is absorbed from the environment, released from the environment, absorbed from the reactants, or released from the products. And in an exothermic reaction, energy is released to the environment. So that's B. 25. Which of the following observations is expected with the electrolysis of concentrated sodium chloride solution using graphite electrodes? So it's concentrated sodium chloride, and at the cathode we expect to see the sodium ion appearing there and the hydroxonium ion H+, and at the anode we expect to see the chloride ion and the hydroxide ion. Now, which one will be, let's deal with the anode first. At the anode, which one will be preferentially discharged? Chlorine will be preferentially discharged because it's a concentrated solution. And because it is concentrated, it means that there are more of the chloride ions in solution, and it has a greater probability of reaching the anode to give up the electron and form the chlorine atom. Okay, so we know that chlorine atom would evolve at the anode. But let us look at the cathode just for reference. Even though it is a concentrated solution and we would expect the sodium ion to act in similar manner with like the chloride ion, but that's not the case. Because of the reactivity of sodium, H+ will be preferentially discharged instead of the sodium ion. Okay, and the simple reason is that the sodium ion is too reactive. Even if it were to accept the electron and become sodium metal, it is so reactive that that sodium metal will in turn react back with water to form the sodium ion to go back into solution, because this is a very stable form of sodium metal. The sodium enjoy being in the ionic state. Okay, so chlorine gas is evolved at the anode. So the answer would be A. 26. A solution X is added to acidified aqueous potassium iodide, which turns brown. Addition of starch to the solution result in a dark blue coloration. Is it possible that solution X contains iron 2+ ions, the sulfite ions, a reducing agent or an oxidizing agent? Alright, so the bluish black color that we see there is responsible for the iodide being oxidized to iodine, right? Plus 2 electrons. Okay, so if this was oxidized, that means there was an oxidizing agent within compound X that caused this to undergo oxidation. So the answer is D. 27. In which of the following substances will electrolysis not occur when an electrical current is passed through it? Dilute sulfuric acid, solid sodium chloride, molten sodium chloride, or sodium hydroxide solution? And it is solid sodium chloride. 28. Which of the following factors will usually increase the rate of catalytic decomposition of hydrogen peroxide? And we know that increasing the temperature would significantly increase the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. 29. Which of the following substances is an amphoteric oxide? Amphoteric meaning that they act as base in the presence of acid and act as acid in the presence of base. And aluminum, lead, and zinc are the amphoteric elements, and so they would form the amphoteric oxide, and in this case, since aluminum is representing for the amphoteric oxide, it's B. 29. Which of the following diagram best illustrate the course of an exothermic reaction? An exothermic means that heat is given out and you have a negative value. Delta H equal a negative value. For an endothermic reaction, delta H equal a positive value. And for you to get a positive value, for you to get a negative value in the case of an exothermic reaction, the product must be lower than the reactant. Okay? From the equation where product minus reactant, the product must be less than the reactant. The energy of the product should be less than the reactant for you to get a negative value which indicate an exothermic reaction. So the answer would be A. 31. All members of a homologous series have similar densities, boiling points, chemical properties, or physical property. Chemical properties. You would expect that methanol and propanol, which belong to the alcohol group, would react the same way. Okay? Item 32 refers to the following graph, which shows the boiling points of some straight chain alcohols. Alright, which of the following formulae, molecular formulae, represent the alcohol whose boiling point is 180 degrees Celsius? So let's find 180. 180 is right here, straight across, right here, and that's 7 carbons. Which one has 7 carbons? 6, 1, 6, and 7. So this one has 7 carbon atoms. So it's D. 32. To which homologous series does the following structure belong? This is the functional group, and that's an acid. So it belongs to the carboxylic acid group, which is A. Items 34 to 35 refer to the following chart showing the conversion of ethene to different products. Product I, right here, is an alcohol, ethanol. The hydration of ethene produces ethanol. The product polyethylene is a solid. Polyethylene is produced as granules that you can put in molders and melt it, and then you use the liquid to shape in whatever plastic bottles, toys, and so forth that you want to shape, that you want to mold it in. But before that, it is a solid. 36. Which of the following reactions occurs between propene and bromine? Bromine would add across the double bond of propene, so it's an addition reaction. 37. Items 37 to 38 refer to the following equation. Organic acid, alcohol to give ester. The forward reaction is known as esterification. The reverse reaction, going from the ester and water to the alcohol, would be hydrolysis. And since you get back the exact carboxylic acid, it is specifically acid hydrolysis. 39. When large alkane molecules are cracked, the products are a mixture of small alkane and alkene molecules. Alright. 40. Which of the following reagent can be used for converting ethanol to ethanoic acid? Ethanoic acid will undergo oxidation by acidified potassium dichromate, where the color change from orange to green, and it's C to give ethanoic acid. 41. The fermentation of sugars using glucose as the substrate can be represented by the equation C6H12O6. Anaerobically produce the ethanol and carbon dioxide. Use the yeast anaerobically would ferment on the sugar, the glucose right here, to produce the ethanol and carbon dioxide. 42. Glucose is converted to starch or cellulose by. So glucose is the monomer and starch is the polymer, and since there are two types of polymerization, addition polymerization and condensation polymerization. Addition polymerization is due to the alkenes, right? Anything other than the alkene will undergo condensation polymerization. So D is the answer there. 43. Which of the following features belong to metals? They form solid chlorides, they form basic oxide, conduct electricity when molten. The non-metal will form the acidic oxides, the metal will form the basic oxides. So all three are correct, 1, 2, and 3. 44. Which of the following processes produces a gas which is different from the others? Is it respiration in animals, photosynthesis in plants, heating calcium carbonate, oxidation of carbon monoxide? And photosynthesis in plant is where carbon dioxide plus water and sunlight give oxygen gas. So the answer is B. 45. Which of the following metals will not displace hydrogen from dilute hydrochloric acid? And that is copper, because copper is below hydrogen in the reactivity series. 46. Which of the following methods is used for the extraction of aluminum? Electrolysis of its molten oxide. We have come to know that. 47. Which of the following statements about sulfur are true? It is used in the vulcanization of rubber, it is used in the extraction of iron from the ore, or it is used in the manufacture of explosive. And it's 1 and 2, 1 and 3. It's 1 and 3. 1 and 3, so that's B. 48. Which of the following substances conducts an electric current but remains chemically unchanged? And I've said before, copper wire is used in your electrical devices to charge your phone and so forth, and the mere fact that you can use it again indicate that the copper remained as it is. So it's B. 49. Which of the following gases is not considered to be toxic? And it's carbon dioxide. 50. The compound which has the formula given there is a double bond is present, so it is an alkene. 51. When copper 2 carbonate is heated alone in a dry test tube, a gas is evolved and a black residue is formed. This gas is expected to, so it's the copper carbonate would produce carbon dioxide, and we expect the carbon dioxide to form a white PPT or precipitate with calcium hydroxide, lime water. Item 52 refers to experiment 1 to 4, shown in the following diagrams, right? In which experiment would the amount of chlorine collected be the greatest? Alright. So, first of all, chlorine, we're looking at chlorine gas is Cl2, and it has an atomic mass of, it has an RMM of 71, right? Air is about 28 to 30 grams per mole. Chlorine gas is heavier than air. We expect to collect the chlorine gas in a downward delivery. Now, items 3 and 4 are in an upward delivery, so these are out of it because it's an upward delivery. If you were to collect the chlorine gas, because it is heavier than air, it will simply come out and escape, and you would not collect the yield, the amount of yield that you would want. 1 and 2 both are downward deliveries, but which one would produce the greatest amount of yield? Well, it turns out that adding heat to the reaction would allow the molecules to move faster, collide more, and so you get more products. Okay, so the answer is I, and that is A. 53. Which of the following observations is expected when aqueous silver nitrate is added to potassium chloride? We should expect a white PPT of silver chloride being formed, which is C. Items 54 to 55 refer to the following metals. A particular metal may be selected more than once or not at all. Which metal reacts vigorously with water to produce a strongly alkaline solution? And that's sodium, which is D. 55. Which metal has an alloy which is used in the manufacture of aircraft? And that's aluminum. 55 is A. 56. A gas Z has physical and chemical properties similar to ammonia. The best method of collecting a pure dry sample of Z would be pass it through water and collect by a downward delivery, calcium oxide and collect by an upward delivery, calcium chloride and collect by a downward delivery, or concentrated sulfuric acid collected by an upward delivery. And ammonia is lighter than air, so an upward delivery should be employed, and the calcium oxide is the drying agent that is used, so the answer would be B. 57. The main substances responsible for acid rain are sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. D. 58. Although aluminum is more reactive than iron, aluminum becomes corrosive resistant when left exposed to atmosphere while iron corrodes. This is because aluminum has reacted completely. Iron oxide formed is more reactive than aluminum oxide formed. The oxide film of aluminum protects the metal from further corrosion, but the oxide film of iron does not. And the answer is C. 59. Which of the following substances is an important constituent of chlorophyll? That's D. And 60. Which of the following gases will give a positive test with dry cobalt chloride? And it's steam. Alright, so we have come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching, guys, and continue to practice those past papers. See you soon.